400 member and collaborating firms throughout the world, and that includes over 1,800 partners. So with growth comes opportunity. We are looking for inquisitive, talented individuals for our entry-level positions who will ultimately define the next generation at Andersen. And as you can see on the top of the screen at the timeline there, we've gone through quite a few name changes in those 20 years, but we've always remained committed to just being one firm throughout the globe and providing a seamless experience to all of our clients. So just another slide to kind of demonstrate the growth, show you the numbers. In the United States, Andersen has more than 1,500 personnel located in now 23 cities across the country. Actually, I think we're a little closer to more like 1,700 or 1,800. We're still continuing to grow incredibly. And we've had some recent expansion here stateside with 2 new offices now added in the United States just within the last month. There's lots of international growth. So Andersen is the founding member of Andersen Global, which is an international association of legally separate independent member firms across the world. And so, like I said before, this rapid growth provides a lot of opportunity and lots of stability for job seekers, even in this economy. And we have gone from 18 locations in 2013 to just over 390 in 2023. So we're not joking when we say we're expanding. Right, so let's meet the team. I'm excited for them to introduce themselves. We'll go ahead and kick it off with Andre.
Hi everyone, good evening. My name is Andre Benjamin. I attended Queens College where I majored in accounting, minored in economics. I am now with Andersen for over 2 years, a little bit over 2 years now. I work in the New York Manhattan office where I work in the PCS, Private Client Services service line. Fun fact, let's see. I was born and raised in Jamaica, and I did 6 years in the Jamaican military before migrating to the US.
Okay, that's a great one. Thank you. Moving on to Ariana.
Hi, my name is Ariana Bellata. I'm a senior associate in the AAF group out of Boston. I graduated from UMass Boston in May of 2020, and then I started here full-time shortly after in July of 2020. But prior to joining full-time, I did 2 internships, one in the fall of 2019 and the other in the summer of 2019. And as far as a fun fact, it's not really that fun, but I always give it. I've been to Canada 10 times, no specific reason, but I've been 10 times, so.
You've been where? Sorry?
Canada.
To Canada 10 times. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think the rest of us could say that. I certainly can't. So, sounds like fun. Thank you. Next up is Ashley.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ashley Vasquez. So I did my undergrad in finance and accounting at the University of Houston. I also completed my master's in accountancy there. I interned with Andersen in the summer of 2020 and the summer of 2021. And then I started full-time in September 2022. So I am fairly new. I work in the Houston office, and I am not exactly part of a service line. I do work for both the PCS and the comm service line. My fun fact, it's a little weird, not gonna lie, but my knee bone is not actually all the way there. Found out in an x-ray, but don't worry, I can still walk and run like a completely normal person.
Okay. Do you want to show us your knee? No, I'm just kidding. We'll take your word for it.
I don't know if I can get my leg up that high, Lauren.
Okay, next time. Thank you. Okay. Last but not least, Aaliyah. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Aaliyah Ann. I'm a current accounting 4th year at Seattle University. And how I ended up joining Andersen is through talking to some amazing Andersen professionals during a Meet the Firms event. And I attended that last year, and it brought me later on to last summer into the SALT practice group as an intern. And I'm now currently campus ambassador and will start my position as a SALT associate in June. A little fun fact about myself is that I enjoy drinking coffee in any weather, like hot coffee specifically.
I lived in Seattle for many years, and I'm also the same way. Never iced, always hot. So I feel you on that. All right. So I'll introduce myself. My name is Loren, like I mentioned, and I'm a manager as part of our national recruiting team. I have been with Anderson for 4 years, initially working in a local role with our HR office in San Francisco, and now have moved on to trying to find great talent throughout the United States, working with a fun team of recruiters. So my fun fact is that I only like to interview people whose names start with A, as you can see on the slide. Just kidding. Okay, so let's get into the panel questions. So this is about our typical day, the intern experience. So our internship program is a great way to get an inside look at our firm, as well as our people, the type of work that we do. And we work really hard to craft a well-rounded experience for you to gain real world exposure into the life of a tax associate. So internships are based on school schedules and the hiring needs of the local offices, but traditionally we have interns with us in the winter, spring, and the summer, and then we also offer a fall internship as well. So I'd like to start off by asking Aaliyah, who participated in a summer internship, a little bit about, your experience of the internship and what types of content, training, experiential learning opportunities you had during your internship.
Yeah, thank you. So as I mentioned, I entered during the summer with the SALT practice. A typical day for me would be to work on like any assigned projects or assignments that are usually provided by my career advisor, which I'll talk a little bit more about later on, or even like other Anderson colleagues. I receive like training from whoever provides me these assignments. Oftentimes it would be my career advisor who trains me. And a lot of the assignments I've done would be like compliance work or calling the state office or doing some tax research, like, since I've been part of SALT. I've also had an opportunity to learn about like different types of software we use, such as Go System and Checkpoint. On top of that, I also had, a great opportunity to attend an amazing event called Intern Connect, which is like one of the several events that I've attended with Anderson. And it's one of the bigger and, most memorable one. This Intern Connect is where we gather like all the interns at Anderson offices to Chicago, where we get the chance to learn more about like Anderson and what's the culture it's like. And overall, it was just a big learning curve coming into Anderson in the summer as an intern. It's been a really great experience so far, and I've learned quite a bit.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. I wanted to turn it over to Andre as well to share, because you participated in the winter internship experience, which is generally a little bit longer. So same question to you.
So Lauren mentioned I participated in the winter internship, and that lasted close to 6 months, if my memory serves me. So the winter internship is basically in the heart of busy season, the April busy season. So on a typical day, as an intern, you're working on client work. You're working on returns.
Have a good day.
And in PCS and with Anderson, you get to work on a whole different type of returns. I was working on individual returns on regular 1040, working on trust return 1041s, entity tax return. So on a daily basis, you're organizing source docs, you're entering information into the work papers, into the tax software itself. So it's actual client work. Working with all of the multi-millionaire clients that we have. And as an intern, it could be a little bit scary. You're still in school, so you're it's a little bit nerve-wracking, but just adequate training, and you're also paired with a buddy and a career advisor, as Aaliyah mentioned. So you're never alone. You're never by yourself wondering, okay, what to do next, which was also a big plus to me. And also during the winter intern, like the earlier portion of the internship in February, you had the opportunity to meet with senior members of the staff, from senior associates to right up to senior partners. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. A lot of interacting, a lot of networking, definitely a lot of client work.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, thank you for that overview from both of you. And we're going to get into the details a little bit more about those different components of the program. Right. So the intern training part of it, I want to turn it over to Ariana, because I know you completed, like you said, 2 internships with Anderson and have now become a part of the training committee in the Boston office. So if you could just tell us a little bit about your experience receiving training as an intern, but now also as a trainer, a bit about the structure and content for interns from a trainer's perspective.
Yeah, sure. So as an intern, you receive a mixture of training, both like technical training and kind of practical on-the-job training. So we would learn about a concept, like the technical side of it, and then right after that, we would move to the practical side and like apply it into like our client work. So as we were doing the practical side, we would get like a set of facts, and then we would work on it ourselves, like entering it, whether it be like the work papers or the system. And there'd be multiple experienced people, so like senior associates, just walking around the room and kind of like assessing need on an individual by individual basis. So anyone who was kind of learning at a little bit of a slower pace, like they didn't fall behind. So that was really nice. But as part of the training committee, and from a trainer perspective, we focus heavily on making sure how we're structuring our training makes sense. So if we teach a technical topic, like applying it practically right after that, so we don't have much of a gap between, hey, we learned about this technical stuff, and then 2 days later we're going to do the practical side of it. It's kind of like doing both back to back. And then, so we want to make sure we structure it in a way that makes sense. But we also, after every training period, we reassess, how did the training go? We get feedback from the new set of new hires to make sure, like, was there anything that we could have touched upon? Was there anything we could have gone in more detail about? Could we have had a separate training on that? So it's constantly reassessing, and that's kind of what the training committee does, is make sure that we're hitting all of the needs, or as much as we can, for the new hire group. So
yeah, great. Well, that's great insight to kind of know how you're aligning the training, the way that you've aligned the training with what's actually needed, and making sure they're getting to apply that. So that's great. Okay, so moving on, I know we've mentioned this just briefly, but there are lots of opportunities for you to feel like you're being set up for success with Anderson. One of our core values is stewardship, and we really hope to demonstrate our commitment to helping our new hires advance right from the beginning of the internship. Aaliyah is the panelist who most recently completed an internship, so I'd love to have her share. Could you please share about the support that you received from professionals during your internship?
Yes, I would love to. So there's a wide variety of support that I received interning at Anderson that helped me up for success. Such like my buddy who was like the first person to welcome me when I first came into the office. They're also a great person to go to when you have questions or any concerns, just anything in general. They're more of I would say like an informal type of person you could talk to. And then there's also a career advisor who I can just reach out to when I have also questions regarding maybe projects or assignments. They're also the person you would go to and, for your performance review, which you would receive at the end of your internship. There's also, the unofficial mentors. I was able to find an unofficial mentor. Thankfully, there's so many great people in the office where you can, just talk to and meet. And eventually you can even ask them to be your official mentor, which will happen when you're becoming, a full-time position with Anderson. You can't get an official mentor until it's about like after 3 months of your full-time position, which I will be starting in June, and hopefully I can find myself one. You can select one yourself, or you can like have them select one for you. But so many unofficial mentors that you can receive just being in the office, talking to the other, associates or anyone really. But yeah, the buddy and career advisor are the main ones who I've, encountered and talked with during my internship.
Gotcha. Great. I'm glad that was a helpful resource for you during the program. So another thing that we put a lot of emphasis on is obviously the services that we provide to our clients. And a cornerstone of the internship program is providing our interns with meaningful client work. And Andre, I know you mentioned this already a little bit about, your winter internship, but if you could give us some more insight into the type of work you were doing as an intern, maybe the clients without naming names, and then what you learned through that process.
Yeah, sure, no problem. So as I mentioned briefly earlier, you get first on experience on client work. You're not being sent out to get coffee. Not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but like this is actual client work. You're even as an intern. I remember even being on the phone with the IRS, which the first time was a pretty scary experience because you don't want to mess up. But the good thing about it is that there are persons there to kind of guide you and mentor you along the way. So as far as interacting with the IRS, like I mentioned, you're actually working on the returns themselves. Clients send us the personal tax document, and we will put together the source docs. So we could pull the information that we need into what we call our work papers. So you're putting together source docs, you're putting together work papers, which are then reviewed by your seniors, then reviewed by senior partners and stuff like that. So your work is actually being viewed by the upper senior members of the firm. And then one of the things that I loved about it is that you're working on these returns from start to finish. So you get to kind of understand the entire process. And this is where the learning bit of it comes in, because you're seeing, okay, this is what this tax is all about. This is what we're doing. This is what, and I had a senior associate said to me one time that it's really art what we do when it comes on to tax and how she looks at it, because I find it fascinating just how you could paint a particular picture from the tax documents that you get from the client. And you learn so much about it. You learn so much about their life and the businesses that they engaged in, And for me, I really believe that as an intern, as someone starting out, that is important, because that is what kind of made me decide, okay, maybe this is exactly where I need to be because of that. So you're getting all the first real experience on all the different type of tax returns. It's not just the one. We're working on individual tax returns. We're working on trust, partnerships, and all of those kind of tasks. And it's a fascinating experience. I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
That I was saying that what you said about fascinating, that's what I was thinking too. I mean, I've never done taxes, but you make it sound really interesting. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Another component of the internship is participation in one or more give back volunteer events. We call it My Giving. For summer interns, this takes place during June Impact Month at Anderson. So Ariana, I know that you have participated in philanthropic events with Anderson during your internship and now as a full-time professional as well. So could you please speak to the opportunities that we provide for our interns to get involved in the local community?
Yeah, sure. So we do, like you mentioned, we do like the one big external event with the new hires, and then multiple like experienced people will also attend. But each local office also does, activities every month within the local office. So I know in the Boston office, we do toy drives, food drives. We'll put together like baskets for the homeless. So like every single month, like we have a calendar. So every single month, like whether you're an intern or a new associate or an experienced folk in the office, like you can get involved as much or as little as you want to. But then another cool kind of component is they do like the matching. So if you have, a charitable organization that's really like near and dear to your heart, if you want to give money to it, like Anderson will match $250 a year. So I also think that's a cool part of it too. And if you're an intern or an associate and you have a specific like organization that you want to donate your time to, like you also can get a bank of volunteer hours to use during your work hours to give back as well. So they really definitely encourage you by not only setting up events, but also giving you those additional hours to volunteer.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I like what you said, like the encouragement to get involved, because it just kind of normalized. Like we have a lot of hours to use, and fortunately, we're able to kind of choose what we want to get involved with those hours in the workplace giving as well. So thank you for that insight. Moving on. So Aaliyah mentioned this, but Intern Connect is our national conference in Chicago where all of our interns from throughout the country come. They meet with our leadership, they network with their peers, they get to learn more about our culture and the industry as well. And overall, it's just really a good time. So I've been 3 times now, and actually 3 times in person and 1 time virtually. So I wanted to ask Ashley, even though your internship was a virtual internship, but you got to attend Intern Connect in person. So I just wanted to ask if you could touch on the type of programming that was provided at Intern Connect and how the experience affected your overall internship.
So Intern Connect was a great experience, first of all. So you're flown to an area right outside of Chicago. It's at the Q Center. So it really is kind of like a little community. It's all the interns from all across Anderson come there and you meet them. Some of the programming that I really enjoyed personally was whenever they would go over the tax updates. At the time, Tax Cuts and Jobs Act was the most big legislation that had been passed at the time. And so they were kind of giving a debrief. There's a lot of jargon that they use when they write the tax code, so it can be confusing. And as an intern, when you come in, it's kind of scary, especially when you don't really know what everything means. So they had professionals come in, give a big presentation, break it down. So that was really helpful as far as my internship experience, because now I had a lot more knowledge about topics that were being talked about in the office. Additionally, there was a social aspect of it. You get to meet the interns from every single office and make new friends. And the people that I interned with and that I got to meet in person, I'm still friends with them today. Some of them work here in the Houston office. Some of them have decided to work elsewhere, but we still have those connections. And it's a really great place to network. You might think, oh, I'll never see this person again. But what I've come to learn is that the tax world is really small. So Intern Connect is a great place to not only meet interns, but to make connections with other managing directors. Because let's say you do work at Anderson, if you've got a question, you can definitely ask somebody at another office who knows. So overall, it was a great experience and the memories were very fun.
Awesome. Yeah, it kind of lays the foundation for that collaborative culture that we have across the firm, not just in one office, but between the offices as well. Thank you. Right. So we put a lot of time and effort into curating our internship programs and, of course, making sure that interns have enough information to make an informed decision about their future employment. You can see on the slide here, there's a lot of fun things we do. These are photos from Intern Connect. So this is fun elements of the internship, but I know that sometimes the deciding factors for the big decision of where you're going to work can be much more subtle. So would anybody be willing to share kind of what sealed the deal for you when you were deciding to join Anderson full time?
Yeah, sure. I don't mind. I could go first. For me personally, it was how they treat the people, staff. I mentioned this earlier that I was born and raised in Jamaica, and the things are done a little bit differently there. You never meet senior managers, you never meet senior partners, and as an intern, I was able to meet senior members of the firm. I was able to sit down face to face, go coffee and lunch with some of the senior partners, and that was one of the reasons why I decided to join. I can even share a story. I always share this one, but I remember as an intern, I did a virtual intern, by the way. So we're on Teams or Teams, I believe, yeah. And I just introduced myself, Mark Vosas, I think. Hope I'm pronouncing his last name correctly. But Mark was on, and we're introducing ourselves. Mark is the CEO, by the way, and I just finished introducing myself. instantly I see an email come in, and it was from Mark. So I'm shocked. I'm like wondering, what did I do? Did I do something wrong? But then in the email, he's saying that, he was he went to Jamaica a while back, and then that just started this entire conversation while we're in this Teams chat. We're talking about Jamaican song. He's sending me YouTube links, and we're just having a blast. And you would think that I know Mark for years, like we're friends, and that's just the kind of relationship that I've had personally with a lot of the senior members or the senior staff here at Anderson. This open door policy where I've yet to receive a no. No, I can't see you, or no, I can't talk to you. It's always, if it's not, yeah, let's set up something right now. We could do it. We could do something later. But that's the reason why I decided to join.
Yeah, I can see that. I appreciate, the fact that that open door policy is actually put into practice. And I think that's throughout the firm, not in just the New York office, but in all the offices. Thank you. Anybody else willing to share?
Yeah, Lauren, I can share. So it was mentioned earlier that Anderson does have a buddy system. And when I was an intern, I consulted with my buddy, not only on some of the technical stuff, but also my professional career. And at the time, I was kind of deciding whether I wanted to sign with Anderson or maybe a different firm. And I talked to my buddy and I was like, I really don't know what to do. I'm kind of nervous. It's a big decision regarding my career, because I'm just starting off, really don't know too much about the tax world. And it kind of relates to our core values. So one of our core values here at Anderson is transparency. And my buddy was very transparent with me. And he told me, he said, hey, look, even if you don't choose Anderson, just know that it's okay. He said, you need to ultimately make the best decision for you and for your career, because you're going to have to live with the choice for the rest of your life. And to me, that was very transparent, but it was also genuine care. He wasn't just trying to sell the firm, but the firm itself truly embodied the fact that, hey, we care about our employees and we want to make sure that Anderson is the best fit for them. And if it's not, that's okay.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's great. All right. So now we're going to transition to talking about the associate experience. I think of anyone on the call, Ariana has the most experience so far with Anderson. So if you could just talk a little bit about your transition from the internship into the full-time role, and then your subsequent advancement within the firm, that would be great.
Yeah. So like you said, I did 2 internships, one in the summer, one in the fall. But when I came back the following year to start as a new associate, the transition was pretty seamless. Andre had already mentioned this, but basically, when you intern in the winter and you intern during tax season, there's no difference between what a new associate's doing versus a new intern. You're doing the same work. You're getting, you're doing the same client work, serving the same client base. So the transition itself was pretty seamless. So when you come back, it's just your title that changes. It's not really the job you're doing that changes. And then as you go on, I'm a senior associate now, but kind of every busy season, your client list gets reevaluated. So you're, as you progress in your career, you're given, more challenging clients. So they kind of, it's very standardized the way you move up. So Anderson, at least I found in the Boston office, it's a pretty standard promotional schedule. From associate to senior, it's about 2 to 3 years. From senior to manager, about 2 to 3 years. So if you're doing what's asked of you, you don't have to wait until someone retires or someone leaves. Anderson, and that's one of the reasons why I chose Anderson over some of the other firms, was because I truly felt like they want to promote their people. They want to put you in the best position to succeed. It's not about you don't have the numbers to promote you. It's if you're ready, they will promote you. So, I mean, and as I transitioned to senior, my last busy season before I became a senior, I was given, some senior tasks. So I was transitioning in the role before I was in the role. And that's kind of the goal here, is that, they don't give you more than you can handle. They slowly progress you until you're ready. So.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Wanted to ask Ashley as well, because I remember when we were prepping for this, you had mentioned your relationship to the client and also like being more responsible for that. So can you tell us a little bit about that transition for you?
Yes. So typically, when you're an intern, you work on a client, but you only work on that client for a short period of time. So you're really only seeing a small part of the whole big picture. So coming in as an associate, I get to prepare things for my client from start to finish. I'm the one who's either corresponding or included in correspondence with the client. So, I mean, I can compare it kind of like to a baby. Like that return really is my baby. I prepare it from start to finish. There's an estimate that needs to be prepared. I'm the one doing it. If I see something odd or strange, I'm the one who's going to bring it to the senior manager and say, hey, like, this looks odd. I think we need to dig a little bit deeper into it. And I think that's also one of the great things that separates Andersen from, let's say, a firm like the Big Four. At the Big Four, you might only see a portion of the return because the clients are extremely, extremely massive. Whereas here at Andersen, like, you're going to see everything from start to finish. You're going to see every little quirk, every little odd thing, every interesting thing. And I think it's a really great experience, especially when you're new and you're starting off. It just enables you to learn so much more. And that's kind of what's a typical day for me as an associate right now.
Gotcha. That's great. Yeah. So a lot of responsibility, a lot of ramping up, but it sounds like there's a lot of support for you as well. So that's good. Okay, great. So kind of wrapping up here, I wanted to ask everybody if there's just a couple people who would share that I know you've been involved in our campus recruiting efforts in one way or another. So just curious, when you're communicating with candidates about opportunities at Andersen, what is one unique aspect of working here that you make sure to mention to them?
I don't mind jumping on this first. One unique aspect that I always mention is I first became aware of Andersen through NABA. I was actually attending a NABA national conference in Tennessee. I think it was in 2019, and that's when I first became aware of Andersen. And the reason why I share that is that last summer I was able to attend an NABA conference, but this time I was on the Andersen side of things, where we went there trying to get new hires, interns and stuff, and that is what I kind of always talk about. The possibility that, hey, listen, not just because you're here just for tax, you get also to do other work, and it's always been a thing for me to kind of, I don't know, share, like bring on other people, other individuals with me. I was hired through the diversity initiative here at Andersen, so it was a real honor and pleasure when they asked me to also be a part of it, to bring on other individual as well. So that's one of the things I've always mentioned, like, hey, if you're interested in stuff like that, you'll be given the opportunity and chance to do that here at Andersen.
That's great. Yeah, I'm sure you're the person to do it, since you have already attended and been a part of that organization. So excellent. Okay, anybody else have something quick to share before we move on to Q&A?
Yeah, I'll share too. What I thought was really cool is, like, I did my original internship in PCS, like the Private Client Services group, and I knew I liked tax, but I felt like I had a little bit more of a finance background, so I was kind of I was vocal about that. And then we have an alternative investment funds group, so even though I interned in PCS, like, I was able to, like, once I said, hey, like, I like this, but I think I like kind of the more financial side of it, like the finance side. They, when I started as an associate there, like, you can do AAF. You don't have to start in PCS. So I think that's really cool. Like, if you know you like tax, but like you start seeing different things, and you're like, oh, maybe I like that better. They're super, like, they care. They want you to succeed at Andersen no matter what service line you're in. So they're always really happy to transfer you over service lines. Maybe not as like a manager or like a senior associate, but like definitely as like an intern and an associate, like you have that option to try all the service lines to see like if one of them fits better than the other for you.
Definitely. Yeah, there's that flexibility there. Perfect. All right. Well, thank you all for your answers to those questions. I think we'll move Now to Q&A from the audience. If there's any queued up here, let me check. All right. Okay, I'll go ahead and ask the first one that I see here. So would anybody be willing to answer why you chose to intern with Andersen over other firms when you were back in school?
I guess I'll take this one. And I literally just mentioned that it was that 2019 conference that I attended. I remember sitting in a workshop that Andersen was putting on, and a partner who was kind of a mentor of mine, he gave this speech that, I don't know, for some reason it stuck with me than all the other workshop and speeches I heard that week that I was there. And that's when I started doing my research on Andersen, and that's why I chose Andersen to do my intern, because I really thought that if I really wanted to learn tax, if I really want to learn accounting, Andersen would kind of provide me the best opportunity to do so.
Awesome, thank you. Anybody else want to hop on that question?
I can answer that, Lauren. One of the reasons why I had decided to do my internship was kind of through a recruiting event as well. I had talked to one of the partners here, and at the time I was a finance only major, and I was kind of thinking about double majoring in accounting. And I had talked to one of the partners here, and he had a very similar background as me. He also did finance and then kind of transitioned to accounting. And he was telling me like, hey, like they're very different. Like if you want to learn the language of business, this is a really good field to get into. And so just based off that conversation, I kind of got the vibe that, hey, they really want you to learn, even if maybe Andersen's not the place for you. So that was kind of my deciding factor in giving tax a chance.
Gotcha, understood. Thank you. I'll move on to the next question now. Actually, there's a few of our participants today that are asking about like best timeline to apply for either our summer or winter internships, which is something that I can address really quickly. So in general, for a winter internship, we're hiring probably the previous spring. So it's about 1 year ahead of time. But in all of our offices, we are still looking for summer interns for 2023, as well as winter interns for 2024. And we've also opened our positions for summer internships in 2024 as well. So if you're looking for opportunities with Andersen, you can, I have 2 links in the resources section of this presentation. So you just have to look on your screen for the resources, and you can get to our Andersen company site where we have all of our jobs listed. If you are at a school that has access to Handshake, you can also find us on Handshake. So there's a link there to our Andersen company profile, and all of our positions are searchable there. So we are still looking for interns for both this summer and next, as well as a winter internship in 2024. And we'd love to consider any sophomores or juniors, even seniors who are interested. All right, let's see if we have any more questions in the queue right now. Okay, here's one. What are some of the biggest challenges you've had to face in this position?
I can also answer that, Lauren.
Okay, go for it.
One of the biggest, I guess, challenges I've had to face is obviously coming in, you don't know a lot, but you'll find that there are topics that you encounter that even your managers are not unsure of. So you have to research it. And that's something that I've had to learn very quickly, is to learn how to research. So I'm using Bloomberg Tax, I'm using Checkpoint, I'm having to go to the instructions of a certain form, or I'm having to go and read the Treasury regulations. So one, getting very, very good at reading and digging into the language, but again, 2, that research, because you'll find topics that you or nobody else knows, especially when they pass new legislation. So getting very acquainted with research is something that I've had to adjust to very quickly.
Understood.
Yeah, to go off that too, like it's tax is always changing. So it's like certain tax laws, like people might know like the back of their hand, but I think of like last year we had a K2, K3. This year there's like a new, worksheet for partners that we have to include. So like the research portion can be like the hardest part, and also like the tax code is very vague, so it can be really challenging when your clients kind of fall outside, like you don't know, does this apply, does it not apply? So I think trying to navigate those gray areas can be really challenging.
Understood. I think about all the different candidates I've interviewed for the entry-level positions over the years, and most of them are people who actually really enjoy a challenge. Like they don't want to stagnate over the life of their career. They want to have to learn new things as they go. So I can see how it's kind of a double-edged sword. Like sometimes it can be maybe stressful to not know those things, but you would prefer that than the alternative of sitting around with monotony or something. So, okay, another question for you. Someone is asking, what is the hiring process like? So this may vary between our presenters, but does anybody want to share about the hiring process?
I could jump on this one quick. If I remember correctly, you do, again, this was all done through the NABA conference that I attended. So I attended the conference. They did some preliminary interviews where I spoke with the recruiter that was on scene and at the time, and then I think after she vetted me, she kind of passed me my information up, and then you're interviewed by the partners. I think I spoke to 4 different partners in that one day, if I remember correctly. And then you get a feedback within a respectable time. I think maybe a week to 2 weeks after I was hearing back from Anderson. That's how I remember it going for me. I don't know if it was different for you guys.
I would say it was the same for me. Same process.
Got it. So a couple of interviews. First one with a recruiter or somebody just kind of doing a screening call, and then you're going to meet with management, people who actually work in the office that you're going to work at. Somebody else is asking, actually there's 2 participants asking about busy season. So any tips you can provide for not getting, quote, burned out during busy season, or, just in general, how do you handle those busy seasons throughout the year?
So I've been involved in a couple new hires training, and this is one of the things that I always tell them: create a little team. Have a group, a team of individuals that you could go to, and I don't even mean just for asking questions. Because when I started as an intern, my buddy at the time said to me, "Listen, have a group of people that you could go to." I remember a lot of the times I turned to her just when I felt stressed out or just overwhelmed, and she was able to kind of talk me through it. So just having that kind of help. Also sticking to a routine, a schedule, and put in some break times in it as well. Sometimes where you just get up and step away from the work just to kind of refresh and come back. And also, before it gets deep into busy season, kind of knock out as much of the work in the slower time as best as possible. That would be a couple of my suggestions.
Excellent.
Yeah. The hours are obviously the hours are the hours, but busy season is temporary. It's not like it's all year long. You do have a lot of slower periods, but I think it's important, especially the longer you're here, is to set boundaries. And just because you're working a lot of hours doesn't mean you can't have a personal life. So it's important to nourish your personal life as well and make sure you're setting boundaries. For me, I might work 70 hours during the week. But I know Sundays, unless it's the weekend before the deadline, I'm never gonna work Sundays. So keeping one day free for myself. So I think definitely the way people survive is just making sure you're setting boundaries, because it really is temporary. So it's just getting through a 2-month period, but boundaries is important for sure.
Excellent. Well, we are at time here, so I just want to wrap up by saying thank you so much to all of our panelists for sharing your unique perspectives today. I think this has been really insightful. And for those of you who are on the call, if you want to, all of our presenters are on LinkedIn, so you can connect with them there. And we actually have one more virtual information series coming up on March 15th, where we're going to cover all the benefits available to you at Anderson if you want to grow your career in terms of professional support. So a huge thank you to everyone who joined us on this call today. And we look forward to seeing you soon and being in touch, and have a good rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.